Hello, everyone. This is Hardik. I welcome you to our workshop at Fortephy. We have Salman and Mo over here from Fortephy, and today we're going to be talking about how you can audit your smart contracts using Fortephy, which is a really cool sort of AI-assisted auditor. Really look forward to this presentation. We've been working on this for a while, and I think you guys are going to have a lot to learn, and it's pretty cool just to generally. I saw their demo beforehand, and it was just very cool to see it happen. So um, with that, I will hand it over to you, Salman.
Yep, for sure.
If you would.
Sounds good. Yep. So thanks, Hardik, for the workshop. Really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Salman. I'm the CTO at Fortephy, and this is Mo.
Hi, guys. I'm Mohammed. I'm the CEO at Fortephy.
Yep. So what we're building is an AI-enabled smart contract auditor, and today basically we'll be doing a workshop, taking you some of the recent hacks, some of the common vulnerabilities, and then doing a live demo at the end as well. So super excited for that. I'm going to share my screen at this point and take it from there. Sound good, Hardik? Perfect. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And the presentation as well? Cool.
Yes,
we can.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. All right, so yeah, so we've also added our contact emails in case you guys have any questions or you want to have a chat with us. Open to that, happy to do that as well. So a bit about our backgrounds. So I'll start and then we'll give it over to Mo. So I'm basically a blockchain security engineer. Previously worked in security at the Bank of Canada, TD, Wealthsimple. Was also working as a security software engineer at ResMed, a medical device company. And then I moved to blockchain security, where I was the first blockchain security engineer hire on Figment's security team. Prior to that, my undergrad was in CS, specializing in internet security.
Yep, I'm Mohammed. I have exited 2 companies so far. I have a degree in engineering from University of Waterloo. I have sales and growth marketing experience in SMEs, and I'm currently a member of Canada Blockchain Consortium, where we run events to educate people about Web3 to push the adoption of Web3 space forward. And that's why we're building Fortephy.
Okay, perfect. All right, so in terms of contents, just like a quick overview of what we'll be covering. So we'll be covering like a quick introduction to what blockchain security is, an introduction to smart contract security, which is a subcategory of blockchain security, and then common smart contract vulnerabilities, as well as some of the recent, like within the 3-year-ish period or 3 to 5 year period hacks that have happened, how they happened, how large they were, and then a demo of Fortephy and how to use it. Now, before we begin, I have a humble request from everyone in this workshop. So we want to actually allow everyone who is in this workshop to access Fortephy and give you exclusive access. For that, this link that Mo is also putting in the chat is a form where once you fill this form in, we'll be able to provide you access right away so that you can follow along during the demo. Perfect. I'll just give everyone a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Once we do that, and Mo, please confirm with me, and we'll move forward.
Awesome. So yeah, the link has been shared in the chat, so you can pick it up from there if you want. When you submit this information, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate a license to it right now. So when we go to the demo site, and you can actually use Fortephy and audit your contract. Just want to let you know that this is we're doing private beta. This product is not open to the world. It's because of LearnWeb3 DAO and Hartik that we're giving you access to this tool, and we would love to hear some feedback as well. So please fill in this form so we can attach licenses to it before the end of the conversation. Before the end of the presentation, you will be able to use it.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, Hardik, I don't know what LFG means.
Brett.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's perfect.
All right, great. Okay, so yeah, we'll just keep those coming in as well. Any questions, feel free to shoot them over the chat. All right, so I'm just going to move forward. Perfect. So what is blockchain security, right? So within the realm of blockchain security, it's typically divided into a few different categories. One, at the very base layer is identity and access management, right? You as an employee, you as a user within an application. And then you come towards things like key management. So for instance, if you're setting up your own wallet and where are you keeping those keys? If you're setting up a validator for staking, how are you storing those keys? These are some of the things that you need to consider. Obviously, then data privacy being a big topic within blockchain itself, and then secure communication. smart contract security, which is primarily my favorite area, and then transaction endorsement. In terms of the primary focus of blockchain security, it's mostly been in the sector of DeFi, as well as NFTs. So you purchasing and selling tokens, you purchasing, selling different NFTs, as well as general applications of DeFi. The focus of blockchain security also then transitions to cross-chain bridges. We came across the Binance hack that happened a few months ago due to a cross-chain bridge. So a lot of the focus is being put on that side. All right, so brief introduction to smart contract security. So essentially, smart contracts, as we know, are code-written agreements and can store a large amount of value. Anytime you send someone money, it's being sent through the smart contract. Now, typically, when you deploy smart contracts, you are typically not able to change them unless you use some specific standard practices after they have been deployed. And as a result of the severity and the criticality of smart contracts and the amount of value that they can store, we have seen that over the year of 2022, around about over $3 billion has been lost due to smart contract hacks, which is exactly why we exist, to essentially lessen and eliminate these hacks. Some of the common vulnerabilities that we'll be covering today are reentrancy, access control, something as simple such as a floating pragma, and a few more. Okay, so let's start with reentrancy. So the very basic or most common method of performing a reentrancy would be to recursively call a function within the original contract and drain the funds that are in the first original contract itself. So if we were to put this as an example, the bad actor in this case makes a call to a vulnerable contract, let's call it contract X, to transfer funds to basically contract Y. Now, contract X is basically what determines whether the attacker has the means or the necessary funds, and then proceeds to essentially transfer these funds to contract Y. Once contract Y, meaning the second contract, executes its callback function, it essentially, as the name suggests, calls back into the first contract before the balance is updated, right? And as a result of that, you can recursively, meaning repeatedly, continue to drain all of the funds in the original contract due to this incorrect implementation of logic. Now, to prevent something like this to happen, we would typically apply something called a check and effects pattern, where the balance is updated in the correct position before any calls are made, so that we can prevent something like a reentrancy occur. So here we have two code snippets. In the first code snippet, the balance is being updated after the call is made. So message.sender.call.value is essentially making the call, and then afterwards, if it's a success, it is updating the balance. Now, this specific component is exactly what we were talking about in the previous slide, where it is essentially recursively calling it. Now, to prevent that, like I mentioned, implementing a checks and effects pattern, what we're doing is here in the second snippet, under shares message.sender equals 0, what we're doing is we're updating the balance before something like a transfer call is being made to transfer the necessary funds from the original contract to the second contract. So that covers the first category, meaning reentrancy. The second category, oftentimes, which we see is referred to as access control. So essentially, the idea of access control is to, in security at least, is to only give a user the needed access that they need and not provide something beyond that. So as an instance, software and systems that contain access control vulnerabilities, what they do is they allow users that are not authorized to access certain pieces of data, access it, and then modify it through security faults present in specific functions within the contract. Now, in smart contracts themselves, going into the realm of Web3, the primary reason why or where access control vulnerabilities occur are 1, with missing modifiers, and 2, with overpowered roles. Now, if we talk about missing modifiers first, essentially a modifier allows you to specify what a person who is interacting with the contract is allowed to do. Sometimes what happens is either that modifier is not present, or an incorrect modifier has been applied to a specific function. Now, if we talk about access control vulnerabilities, ShadowFi, which we'll be talking about later as well, was one of the major hacks that happened due to this exact reason of missing a modifier for access control. The second category, what we talked about, or what I mentioned, is overpower roles. So now in security, there's something called the least privilege principle, where a user, like I mentioned earlier, should only have access to the specific data and resources that they need access to in order to complete a task. An overpower role could be something like, let's say I have a contract where a specific user is able to burn tokens. Now, this functionality of burning tokens obviously shouldn't be available to the public and only to one or a given set of users. As a result of this overpowered functionality, an adversary or an attacker could abuse this to then burn all of the tokens present within the contract. So this is the idea behind overpower roles. To remediate this, our suggestion is essentially to use the OpenZeppin libraries that are present to determine which access control parameters make sense. Okay, so here is an example of access control. So here, this specific function, this is for the ShadowFi hack. There was a public burn function, and what this allowed to do is it allowed anyone to call the burn function and burn the tokens. This essentially created inflation, and as a result, increased the worth of the token. Okay, and then now moving to the third category, so floating pragmas. Now, anytime we're deploying smart contracts, essentially the idea is that the contracts should typically be deployed with the same compiler version that is listed and the flags that have been tested thoroughly. The reason for that is if you're deploying with a version that has been released too recently or a version that is too old, it may not have been tested in terms of security to ensure that any bugs or any fixes that needed to be made are made. And the reason that this vulnerability is present is because languages like Solidity and their compiler versions are continuously being updated, as we know. Locking the pragma or setting a specific pragma essentially allows us to not accidentally deploy something that is outdated and something that introduces bugs. Now, to remediate this, our suggestion is to use a fixed pragma statement. So here is a simple example of something known as bad practice, where you have a floating pragma, and then something as good practice, where you have a fixed pragma. All right, now let's discuss some of the recent hacks that have happened. With the Binance hack, the total value that was about stolen was around the 570 million mark. This occurred due to a cross-chain bridge, and the hack happened because of a bug in a smart contract where hackers could forge transactions and transfer funds into their wallet. If we move to the Poly network hack, also quite famously known in August 2021, roughly coming to the 611 mark, this hack happened due to the mismanagement of the access rights between essentially two important smart contracts that were present on the Poly network. Third, we have the Grim Finance hack. So this hack is a classic example of reentrancy, where you were draining the wallet, and this is why $30 million was compromised. Finally, one of the most, or probably the most famous hack that at least I've come across, which caused a hard fork to happen, is the DAO hack. Also happened due to the reentrancy vulnerability. Now, if you want to really keep up with the latest hacks and see who's, you could say, unfortunately or fortunately, at the leaderboard of the most hacks that are happening for visibility, Rekt is a great site and a personal recommendation of mine. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Salman. After key takeaways, can we take Jolin's question?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
So just a few key takeaways of what we've discussed. So essentially, it's important that you ensure or take into account security right when you're writing your smart contract prior to you deploying it to ensure you've done all of your due diligence. As a developer, you need to know what vulnerabilities exist and how you can fix them and prevent them from hacking to prevent any further loss or any exploitation of smart contracts. Happy to take a question now.
Yeah, Jolin, feel free to jump in and ask your question. Would you? Okay, perfect.
On the Starbucks, I'm not sure you can be too loud. That's why I put in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, we can hear you now. You can just ask the question. Oh, he's gone. All right, I'll just ask the question. So Said if we are updating funds first without checking for success, wouldn't those funds/tokens be lost? I think that was for reentrancy.
Sorry, repeat the question.
Yeah, so if we are updating funds first without checking for success, wouldn't those funds/tokens be lost?
Right. So in this example that we're covering right now, what's happening is that obviously before the call is being made, you're updating a balance, right? So the idea is for you to make sure the check is done and the balance is updated, and then the call is made. I'm happy to show you some more examples, and we can also chat offline, Jolin, and go from there as well. Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, he said thank you.
All right, no worries. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back here, and then perfect. So now, what we'll be doing is we'll do a live session on how to use Fortephy to get an audit. If any of you run into any issues at any point in time, we have a Google form here, and on the Google form, essentially what you can do is if I click over here, you can fill out your name, email, and please provide an explanation for the issue, attach any screenshots, and then I will directly get back to you.
Just a quick point. I just shared the form link in the chat, and also we received, the forms from Ashutosh, Anil, Harthik, CJ, Chris, Lucas, Patty. You guys have access now, so when you sign in, you will be able to use it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm just gonna go over to the demo now. So before we begin, just walk through this with me, and then again, any issues that you run into, happy to take them through the forums and chat more offline. We can set up a TG group or a Slack Connect as well. We can coordinate that. So in terms of the demo,
Someone can you show the URL to access this API so you can walk and do it with us?
Yep. So it's fortephy.readme.io. I'm happy to put that in here as well in the chat.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, perfect. So that's how you access it.
So on our API page, what we start with is a video demo of how to use the API in case you don't want to go through the exact guide. But as a user, let's say you prefer to use the graphical user interface. First, you would go ahead and create an account by providing your first name, last name, username, email, and password. This is then going to generate an account on our platform for you. Then what would happen is you would authenticate using the login endpoint. In the login endpoint, you get a access token, which is valid for 24 hours in case you want to come back and reanalyze your smart contracts. Finally, we have the analyze section of our API, which has two endpoints. The first endpoint allows you to individually first upload the smart contract that you want to get analyzed, and then upload any subsequent contracts that are being imported into the first smart contract. And then finally, in case you want to make your life even more easier, you can compress the smart contracts that you would like to get analyzed and just specify the one that you want to scan for security. Now, if we scroll down, let's say you're a more technically inclined or more of a hacky individual, you just want to do it in your IDE or in your terminal. What you can do is you can make curl requests to curl post requests to the endpoints that we have specified, which will basically take you through the exact steps and give you the same output that you may receive. Sample output looks like this once you have successfully authenticated, created an account, authenticated, and uploaded your smart contracts. And same idea with the test files endpoint. And here, again, a form has been attached, same form to submit an issue. So now what I'm going to do at this point is take you through an example. So here, for instance, I'm going to create an account. So I'm gonna put my name here, or put a sample name here. So LW3, and then let's give it the last name Dow, LW3, and email Salman at fortephy.com. And then I'm just going to set a simple password. Seems like I already have this over here, so let me do this. All right, perfect. Once I hit try it, now it's generated an account for me successfully. So my username is LW3, and then my password is this over here. At this point, I'm going to paste in my username and enter in my test account password and hit try it. Like I mentioned earlier, once you hit try it, it's generating an access token for you. Please copy the access token and then move to the analyze endpoint. On the analyze endpoint, you go on the top right corner, paste your access token, and at this point, please select the contract that you want to get analyzed. In my case, wallet is a contract that I would like to get analyzed, so I hit enter. And then the second contract that is being imported into wallet is called coin. Once I do that and hit try it, now what it's going to do is provide you a JSON output with the description, impact, confidence, as well as remediation. So for example, here this contract wallet has a spend coins function, and this function is ignoring a specific return value. And what we're doing is we're providing a suggestion as to what to use to remediate the security issue, the line numbers that are being impacted by this. Another cool thing that Fortephy also checks for is gas efficiency and inefficiency issues. So here, as an example, non-strict inequalities are being used, which in the EVM, there's no OP code to deal with non-strict inequalities, therefore resulting in further gas consumption. And to remediate that, we suggest to use strict inequalities to save X amount of gas. Same thing I could do on the zip endpoint. So at this point, I would type in the name of the contract. I would go here, select the compressed zip file. So for instance, if I'm in the contracts folder, I would highlight both of these, compress them. This would then give me this compressed file, hit enter, and try it. Once that is done, it is going to generate the same output that you were seeing earlier on the test files endpoint. So that is a quick demo. Happy to answer any questions and take it from there.
I just want to point out one thing. So when you submit the form, you're not going to get an email, but your license has been attached to your email. So you can go to fortephy.readme.io and just sign up. You will get the license automatically. Just use the same email.
Okay, perfect. Just to add a few more points, and to basically wrap things up here as well, we saw that there was a significant gap in the smart contract security tooling space. And as developers ourselves and engineers ourselves, we don't want to have to wait 6 months to get an audit or 2 to 4 weeks to hear back. And the goal here is to basically provide developers everything at their hands, where they need it, when they need it, to allow them to have continuous insight into their security and do all of the due diligence that they can on their end. So yeah, happy to support the community and happy to basically help you guys grow. Perfect. Anything to add, Mohammed?
No, I'm just like addressing all the any messages or concerns that are coming on the site. You guys can go ahead and try it out if you'd like. And if you run into any problems, you can ask questions now. We're here. Or you can send us an email, submit the form. We'll get that problems fixed if you run into any.
The best way is to just submit the support ticket, and then I'll be directly chatting with you as well. We can set up a TG or a Slack Connect.
Perfect. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, put it in the chat or unmute and ask. In the meantime, I have a question for you guys. So with sort of this form of auditing where it can be automated, you can have AI assist you in the auditing process and things like that. I'm just generally curious, how do you see the future of like these sort of large established auditing companies that have built their businesses over charging $100,000 for a smart contract audit? Sort of where do you see that going? Do you think they're transitioning to like an AI assisted tooling as well? Do you think this is something that can fully replace those auditors, or is it just like a tool in the tool belt for those folks as well?
Yeah. So go ahead. You wanna?
Sure.
Sure. Go ahead.
Not this one. Yeah. So no, great, valid question. So obviously, not all of us has 300K lying around for an audit. So
Yeah.
that is also a big concern. But the idea here is first starting with your point on auditing companies. auditing companies, like ones that at least we're working with as well, we're providing value to them by basically allowing them to identify all of these sets or common sets of vulnerabilities prior to moving to the manual component that their client has requested, right? From our perspective, the way we're helping both ends is on the auditing side, what we're doing is we're making the auditor spend less time on the audit. As a result, you as a client or a user or as a Web3 project owner being charged less. On the second hand, if you're a Web3 owner, developer, or you're the client itself, you can get immediate feedback on the code that you're writing instead of having to wait that 2 to 4 week period or that 6-month period to get an audit. The ultimate goal is essentially to get developers to a point where they can audit their smart contracts, where they can generate unit tests, an entire test suite, where they can perform threat modeling. And as a result of that, they have everything directly in their environments and can only basically go to request an audit if they feel there is a need to do so. So it's less of a dependency and less of like more of a less of a stamp, and more that you have everything at your hands to succeed. And yeah, happy to hear from Mo as well.
Yeah, I just want to add to the point that we're the technology that we're building, we're providing smart contract auditor, AI-enabled smart contract auditor, but that's not what we're going to just provide. Our plan is to provide a suite of products. The next phase of the suite, or the next product that we're working on, is unit test generation, further in threat modeling. So we'll be building a suite of products for the developers focused towards security.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for this workshop. I hope everybody here was able to learn something. For those of you who signed up, you have access to using Fortephy now. So for your next project, try out the auditor. Make sure you don't leave any bugs. Yeah, great tool. Definitely 100%.
Yeah, we also just want to take a moment to say thanks to Hardik and the LearnWeb3 DAO team. Really appreciate this opportunity, and looking forward to you guys using the tool. Happy to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. We actually got connected because of one of the developers who we were working with was a part of your DAO, and then we were like, yo, you should talk to them. This is very valuable. That's how this conversation started. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure sharing Fortephy with your developers in your community.
Amazing. Thank you. And I'm sure, we'll put this up on YouTube and a bunch more people are going to look at it and your Telegram's going to be bombed. But look forward to that. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to stop the recording now and there.